Trail talk time. Out on this beauty of a trail. Breathing in that fresh air. Vibing with nature. Feeling great. Feeling peaceful. I wanted to take a page out of John Lennon's book today and imagine. I'm sure most of you know his song, Imagine. It's one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. It's made me cry listening to it. Just imagining that beautiful type of world that he brings forth in the lyrics, you know. Imagine there's no countries. I wonder if you can. Nothing to kill or die for. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. Imagine all the people living life in peace. We can imagine this type of world. Everything that's created, it begins in the imagination realm. I think oftentimes people feel like there can't even be a change that comes about in this world, as if things have gotten too far. And that's the first problem. That's the reason why they wouldn't be able to make a change, because they're already stopping themselves right out of the gate. I saw an interview before with Will Smith giving all this great, wise advice. And he talks about sometimes we have to allow ourselves to believe that something new can happen. Something brand new can be brought about in this life. It starts from when we're children. We have this school system where everybody is taught the exact same thing in this exact same way, and we're all expected to sort of compete against each other for getting good grades so that we can make it to these higher levels and try and have this good life that they depict for us. And there was a quote that was said, it was said to be by Albert Einstein, but I've read recently that might have been a misquote, but it was something like, everybody is a genius, but if a fish is judging itself on its ability to climb a tree, then it will go its whole life thinking that it's stupid. And this can relate to our school system now. Some people might not be built for that type of education. That might not be the best system for them to learn under, to sit in a classroom and try and just memorize and regurgitate these facts that they give them. And that type of system, it doesn't really encourage critical thinking, for somebody to actually think for themselves. All it encourages is for someone to take in this information and just memorize it and regurgitate it back. And we're rewarded if we go ahead and follow along with those answers. And if you think outside of the box, then you're not going to do well in that school system. If you think for yourself, So right out of the gate, once again, we're taught how not to think for ourselves, but how to just go along with the system. And that's such a huge problem that we see nowadays all over the world. So many people are just following along, and they're afraid to step outside of that system, that societal norm. You know, the great Alan Watts, I use him a lot for references. He's so incredibly wise, and he talks about how culture is not your friend, you know, it's not necessarily your friend. Just because a large group of people are going along with a certain ideal doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be healthy for you. And I love John Lennon's beautiful spirit, you know. He had so much love just overflowing from him, and he talked about, you know, making peace and not war, and it starts with imagining and then putting it into practice. You know, and Infinite Waters says peace starts on your plate, right? You know, how are we treating all of the beings on this planet? Are we treating them as if we are one with them? You know, do we realize the effect that we're having on this planet every day in our daily actions? How do we treat each other? If we can imagine a beautiful world where we all live as one, we wouldn't be competing against each other for the resources in this world. We could work together and pool our resources together to create something better, instead of wasting all of this beautiful intelligence on creating war machines, right? All the giant budget that all of these countries have going towards military spending, building these weapons of destruction. Imagine if we created technologies of peace. I was talking with my mom the other day about some of the positive aspects going on during this whole COVID-19 situation, which I've spoken about in other videos, about the environment actually thriving right now because we've shut down so much of the, you know, pollution and production and everything. We've taken a break from these things, and now the planet is starting to become refreshed. But going through all of this, you know, all of the hardship and all of the pain and suffering that people are going through, all the fear spreading through people with this whole situation, if it were just to create, you know, a better change in the environment, then I don't think it's worth it, because it's like, if you're just looking at trying to change the environment, that's one aspect of our life. And if we really want to see some major change, some long-lasting change, then we have to get to the root of the problem. Just like you do with a weed in your garden, you have to get to the root and pull it out and uproot it in order to really solve the problem, solve the issue. And so the problem isn't necessarily just environmental. It's a deeper issue that we're dealing with right now on the planet, and it's a spiritual issue. You know, it has to do with us feeling separate from each other, living from the ego and not feeling our connectedness with each other and with the planet as a whole. That's what causes all of this division and competition against each other. It all stems from that egoic fear, saying I have to try and compete against everybody else for my survival. There's a beautiful set of teachings. I forget how it was originally found. There were possibly some scrolls or something, I forget, but it was turned into a book and a movie, and it's called the Celestine Prophecy. And this prophecy, I'm actually going to do a whole video on that soon, so I won't go too far into it, but it's basically talking about, two types of modalities that people can operate under, two types of forces in this world, in life, being love and fear. And so when we're coming from that modality of fear, and we're in that energy, that vibration, that state of fear, we're coming from this state of lack, as if we're lacking the energy we need, and we need to compete against others to take the energy that we need, like taking it from them. Whereas when we're in the state of love, when we're vibrating on the frequency of love, and we're in that modality, then we realize our abundance. We feel that abundance of energy. We recognize our connection with the divine energy that permeates all. We are automatically energized by being in that vibration, for it's the highest vibration. We're vibing so high, we have the energy that we need, and so we experience that, we know that, and so we don't need to compete against one another for our energy. We're just simply generating it for ourselves. So imagine if people lived this way. Instead of living in fear of lack, we realized that we're all one. We realized we can work together as one giant earth family, an earth community, and see all of the abundance that we can share with each other. Then that's such a different way of living, sharing instead of competing against one another. And that's such a beautiful way of living. And we wouldn't have people, being able to deceive people into thinking that, there isn't enough for everybody. Because that's the way that it's gone for so long, and that's the reason why people feel that way. Essentially, they're being deceived into thinking this way in one way or another. When in reality, when you're in that space, that state of love, you automatically know that there's more than enough for everyone. This beautiful planet that we inhabit is so abundant. And all the things that we've been doing to her to affect her are because we're constantly competing against each other. So I just wanted to bring about that beautiful message from John Lennon to just get everyone to imagine, to start there, to say, it is possible. It is possible to create a future where everybody is living as one, as he said in the song. If we can start by imagining this, then we can start to live in that way and actually create that as a reality for us all. And that's the root of it all. Once we solve the root and we feel that connection with everyone, we realize we're not separate. We're all one family, we're all one unit. We feel that unity. Then we're not going to be able to treat each other so poorly, so ignorantly, so violently. Because we'll realize, if you harm another, you're just harming yourself. And you'll feel that. So it all stems from that beautiful experience. You realize if you harm this planet, then you're just harming yourself. So we're one with this beautiful planet. So this is the type of beautiful world that we can imagine and we can work towards creating for everyone, so we can all share the world and live in peace and be as one, as John Lennon beautifully said. And Yoko Ono, shout out to her, because she had a lot to do with that song and those beautiful lyrics as well. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share for today. Just got so inspired by that song again and those beautiful lyrics. Just imagining this wonderful world where instead of feeling divided and always looking at things as separate, we can all live as one and realize our oneness. That's the type of world that I want to live in. So that's it for today. Have an amazing day. And just imagine that which you want to see in this world. And step by step we can make it happen. Peace and limitless love.